Alright, lads and ladies, it's that time again for the monthly video that I do. So, it's not actually monthly, but you know, I just have a very bad upload schedule. So this time we're going to be taking a look at God of War Ragnarok. People would say this just got sniped at the Game Awards. I would disagree, but, let's see, how does this game stack up compared to 2018, right? Everybody loves God of War 2018, or a lot of people do, right? A very well-rounded game. It has some shortcomings, but overall it was fantastic. So Ragnarok, of course, had a lot of hype going into it, and, you know, according to myself and a lot of people, I think this game definitely lived up to the hype, but I'm going to say this is not the flawless masterpiece everyone says it is. So, this is going to be God of War Ragnarok, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, let's start with the good of God of War Ragnarok. The combat in this game is phenomenal. Greatly improved from God of War 2018, where it kind of felt like 2018, you were just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and combat got absolutely exhausting. This game definitely doesn't have that issue. The entire time I was going through the game, I never felt like I was getting bored of the combat system. I always felt like I was doing new things, or I was figuring out new ways to approach enemies, or I was experimenting with different ways to do things. The combat felt great. It felt snappy, it felt faster, it felt strong. In some ways, there are parts where you don't feel strong when you're just fighting this beefier version of a regular enemy, and I'm just chipping away at him for like 10 minutes, and it's like, dude, I am the God of War. Why am I doing this? Why does this take forever? The God of War can't block a generic swing from a fiery hell skeleton thing. Like, dude, this is so immersion breaking. Why is this happening? But I'm not gonna say like, oh, you should be able to block everything, because then, I mean, there's no challenge. But like, it's a bit absurd that there's just weird attacks that for some reason he can't block. Yeah, well, I would classify it as immersion breaking, that you can't block weird stuff like that. I would never say that it like ruins combat. It'll take you out of it for a second and think, okay, that's a little weird. There is a couple issues I take with the combat. Like, I really think these games need one more iteration to really get this system down, because it's great now. It's much better than it was, but there's still some jank to it, right? It's still kind of janky. One thing in particular, when there's more than like 5 enemies in an encounter, I really think they need to zoom the camera out, because like, it doesn't, like, you have a hard time keeping track of what's happening, and there's supposed to be like the little threat ring around you, and that thing helps about 25% of the time, because sometimes they'll just attack so quick, because combat is so much faster than last time. They'll attack so quick that the threat indicator is on the screen for like a frame and then it's gone. It's like, dude, thanks, appreciate that, man. Like, and people say, well, this is more realistic, and here's what I have to say to stuff like this: just because something is more realistic does not mean it is overall more beneficial for your video game, right? And these issues don't crop up a lot, but when they do, they're immensely frustrating, and it feels like, all right, great, fantastic. I couldn't really do much there. I was focusing on the other 4 enemies in front of me, and then I got blindsided by 2 more because I couldn't focus on them. The camera is too zoomed out, and they're not even that far away. They're not that far behind me, but the camera is too zoomed in, right? The camera needs to be taken back some when there's more than when there's more than like 4 enemies on screen, I think. But the combat, for the most part, was great. The Blades of Chaos don't suck anymore. They're fantastic in this game. All the weapons feel really balanced, like they're about as good as each other. But I think they made it a point to make the spear the strongest, right? Like, the spear definitely gets the highest DPS. It gets the most stun. You can do some pretty goofy stuff with the spear. I think that the spear is clearly the strongest of all of the weapons. But they do a good job at making them all kind of feel balanced. I really enjoyed the different types of shields as well, although I think Guardian Shield is still weirdly the best, because you actually have invincibility frames on your parries and counters, but it still felt really good. Although there is one more pretty big issue I take with combat in this game, and that is, like, so in the last game, Spartan Rage was already bad, right? Like, it was okay. It could do decent damage and save you from an insta-kill. And I am beyond confused as to how Santa Monica Studios looked at Spartan Rage and said, what if we took the worst, weakest combat mechanic from the last game and made it even more useless in this game. So Spartan Rage in this game, I would say, does less damage, actually, because in the clip I will show on screen where I'm fighting Gana, I'm using Spartan Rage. Her health is not moving, bro. I am throwing everything I've got her. I'm like level 8 in this fight. I'm doing everything I got her, and that health bar is not moving. Like, so Fury Spartan Rage heals a decent bit, but does 0 damage. It is useless. And as for Valor, well, would you believe me if I said it was even more useless? For Valor, you pop it, you heal like 1/20th of your health bar. You don't heal that much, but you have like no iframes on it, so you'll just lose it all instantly. You pop Valor to try and heal, you get hit by 1 projectile, you just lost everything you healed plus more, right? Valor is absolute garbage. There's no point in using it ever at all. It is useful in the one fight against Freya. Beyond that, it is nothing. Valor is absolute garbage. Like I said, you heal like 1/20th of your health bar and then you lose it all in one hit anyway. The only almost decent Spartan Rage is Wrath, because you get a lot of damage on a boss or an instant takedown on an enemy, and you heal a decent bit on it. You get a small little health burst, which is good. Wrath is the only almost decent Spartan Rage, but Valor was absolute garbage and Fury was next to garbage. So I'm beyond confused as to how they looked at what was by far the weakest mechanic from the last game and said, what if it was worse? What if we looked at that and said, we can do worse instead of we can do better? We see this, we think, I think we have worse on us. I think we can ruin it even more. Spartan Rage should be like your devil trigger, your trump card. You pull it out and you can win. You can get out of an enemy encounter. For God's sakes, you should be able to use Spartan Rage and get out of a generic enemy encounter. And I'm not saying that I need like flames and everything flying everywhere when you're in Spartan Rage, but I need it to not suck, right? It's not an unbelievable request for it to not suck. As for the story I would say is good, but there are some parts where it falters. Like, I know people are gonna hate that I say that, but I know everybody says, oh, this is fantastic character development for Kratos, but I have a couple questions here. One, how is the character development if most of it happens off screen? Like, I'm not saying I don't like the direction they took him, but like, you know, they see like frame 1 in the last game, they saw Kratos, they said, wow, this is such crazy character development from God of War 3, and it's like, it's not character development if it didn't happen on screen, right? This is just, he's like this now. It's not any kind of development for it. Now, I'm not going to say that he is without character development, because that's dumb. I think that he does get good character development in this game, but I just wanted to bring that up because it's something I see a lot and it kind of annoys me. The story in general, I would say, is pretty decent, although the storytelling in the first like 10 hours is messy. I think the storytelling for the first bit of it is very messy. I'm not going to say that like it's bad storytelling or like it does it poorly, but again, it's messy, right? The whole split narrative thing, while it's better than how some games like The Last of Us Part 2 handle it, I still felt like it was a little bit weird. But it definitely does like get tighter towards the end, and it definitely does pick itself back up and really carry the story home. The characters are pretty decent for the most part. You know, Rock and Sindri are great. Kratos is great. Odin is just such a great villain. Thor was really cool. Heimdall is just an absolute Sigma male. Absolutely loved Heimdall. The visuals of the game are just so good. You can say it doesn't look that much better than 2018, but that's because 2018 looked really good already. But I would say this game definitely looks better than 2018. Like, there is an improvement from one to the other. The game definitely looks better. I think it looks not as good as like Forbidden West or Demon's Souls does, but it looks really great. So the visuals, I would say, count as good. The enemy variety is significantly better, although I don't think it's all they hyped it up to be. Your enemy variety has pretty much been updated to where you have Einherjar, which are Asgardian people. You have Grimms, which are these weird frog things. And then you have Light Elves, right? So you have a few more enemy types chucked in there, plus a couple others like Reavers and Hell Reavers or whatever, or the Raiders and Hell Raiders. Like, they're different, but I do kind of think like they hyped it up a bit too much. They added like another 5 or 6, maybe 7 enemy types in there, which is good. But again, like my point with the last game was like, you know, you compare it to something like FF7 Remake where there's just like 30 different enemy types. It's like, wow, it's crazy to see that many different ones. They added a couple more mini bosses, like there's a leopard thing that you fight. There's mini bosses for like each type of enemy now. I definitely do really like the enemy variety, and it's significantly better, but I will say it's not quite everything they hyped it up to be. The boss variety, though, was insane. There's like 30 unique bosses in this game. I think there's like 60 in total if you include the statue ones. And there's like 30 unique ones. The bosses were so good. There are some that are undeniably jank, like that they clearly didn't put much thought into, but for the most part, they really knocked it out of the park with these bosses. Like, you know, compared to the last game when you fight the same troll and ancient 100 times, this is pretty good. You fight an ancient like maybe 3 or 4 times, and you fight trolls. Like, I think there's like 6 trolls in the entire game, including the statues. So they did very, very well in this game with the bosses. They did a good job at not reskinning a lot of stuff. The villain, Odin, is just amazing. Like, this is a very good interpretation of Odin. Instead of him being, you know, the all-father, you know, omnipotent like he is in some stuff like Marvel, this is a very Godfather take on Odin, and it works really good. The actor for him is really good, but he has a couple deliveries that are like, dude, he phoned that one in. Like, one I really thought about was when you first go to Asgard with Atreus, and he's going around like blessing the Einherjar, and he like does the little chants like when the de Nagun or whatever he says, and it's like, man, this dude just does not care. Like, he just really is phoning it in super hard. But for the most part, he kills it. All the performances in this game are, for the most part, really great. Odin was so good. So now if we start moving to the bad. The bad, I think, is they made a very similar mistake to the last game where they balance difficulty a lot around super armor. If you go into Give Me No Mercy and Give Me a Challenge, it's more or less balanced around the enemies just having a lot of super armor. They'll just kind of dodge out of your attacks, or they'll just hit you through your attacks mid-combo, might I add. You can be attacking them, and mid-combo they'll just start attacking you, or they'll just dodge out of it. Like, it's not super bad like it was in the last game. It's definitely annoying, right? Like, I was playing that, I was like, dude, come on. Like, I eventually did drop it down to Give Me Balance because I was just so annoyed. And I will say, even on Give Me Balance, enemies kind of feel like they have way too much health. Like, there are some times where you'll just chip away at an enemy for like 10 minutes. It's like, dude, I am the god of war. Like, why is this happening? Why is this frog taking 25 swings to go down? I don't understand this. But for the most part, that's an issue on the higher difficulties. Most people are going to play on Give Me Balance, I think. And I think that's probably that or the next difficulty down is probably the optimal experience. But I never went below Give Me Balance. Okay, so another thing in the bad, this might be a bit of a hot take. There's some goofy writing with Freya in this game. This entire scene I'll show with Odin, man, I was rolling my eyes. I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Why is this in here? This feels so weird and out of place. You have no power over me anymore. And my wings pop out like, dude, what is this? Why is this happening? And she's like, bow to your queen. It came across as very, very strange, right? Like, I was like, oh, am I watching She-Hulk again? What's happening here? Like, it definitely was a little bit strange, those things, but they don't come up too often, but they do kind of beat you over the head with girls get it done with Thrud emasculating Atreus at a lot of points, but it never gets that bad. Like, I would say it never gets egregious, but it pops up enough to be annoying, I think. Now, this is technically a bad, but I wouldn't say it's bad, but I think it kind of is. The soundtrack for this game. The soundtrack for this game is weak. I'm not gonna lie. This is a weak soundtrack. I don't know how this got best score. I really don't. The game kind of feels like it has about 2 or 3 songs that just keep repeating themselves. Like, that's more or less what I got from the soundtrack of this. And I play with games sound turned up pretty high, and I love listening for video game music. But the game soundtrack for this, it did not do it for me in the slightest. It felt like it had the same 3 songs that kept repeating themselves. It felt like I was listening to the Christian music radio station. It just had 3 songs that kept repeating themselves ad nauseum forever. You convinced me this entire soundtrack is just slight remixes of stuff from the last game. It's just a very weak soundtrack. It did not do it for me in the slightest. Very mediocre soundtrack, I think. It just, you compare this to the greats, like Elden Ring, I think, had a fantastic soundtrack. Even Horizon has a great soundtrack. The Final Fantasy soundtracks, like, it's just the Kingdom Hearts, Xenoblade, Nier, etc., etc., etc. Like, there's so many games with great soundtracks, and this just isn't one of them. I'm sorry, this is a mid soundtrack. I think there wasn't a single track in this game where I was like, oh, listen to that, man, this is banging, or I was like, that improved my immersion. There was never a single moment like that, and I'm really disappointed by that, because I want to like soundtracks in games. But yeah, and now we're gonna go into the ugly. So there's two things for the ugly. The first thing is, this game is buggy. This is a buggy game. This is probably the buggiest first playthrough of a game I think I've ever had. I fell through the map a couple times. I encountered a glitch that they just fixed a couple days ago, where Lingbacher, the big whale in Svartalheim, was just not there. He just wasn't there for like a month, and they just now fixed it. It took them a month to do that, and it blocked me from platinum. I had everything done except what was on that island. So that wasn't great. Also, it took them like 2 weeks to patch a glitch that was there day one, where you couldn't lower your difficulty. It's like, dude, come on. Like, I don't understand how a developer that was so far ahead of the curve on so many things in this game could look borderline incompetent when it comes to debugging. I honestly think this game could have used another, like, a month delay strictly for debugging purposes. It was never like horrible or unplayable buggy, but like, I fell through the map a couple times. I had the Lingbacher glitch. I couldn't lower my difficulty when I wanted. Like, it was really rough, I would say. Like, honestly, the bugs alone really sullied my first playthrough. They fixed a lot of them now, but it took them way too long to get to it. Instead of debugging the game while it was in development, they just kind of said, okay, we'll just kind of launch it like this, and then hope that people notice it, but they're not too bad. That's pretty much what they did. And I think that really didn't work. And one more thing in the ugly, they reused a lot of stuff in this game, I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of the runic attacks from the last game are turned into like part of your basic moveset in this, and that's really cool. But about half of the blade and axe runics in this game are also old. Like, dude, come on. Like, why do you reuse half of your runics and just reuse so much stuff in general? I know people are gonna say, well, dude, every sequel reuses things, man, it's fine. And it's like, to some extent, yes, but dude, these are your super moves. Why are like half of them the same? And I'm assuming it's because, like, oh, all the spear ones are new, but even so, like, there's so few runics is the thing. There's like 4 of each category for each weapon, and when half of those are not new, it's just very, very disappointing. I definitely did not like how much got reused from one game to the next. Your basic combat string is the same as well. Like, in fact, a lot of your combat moves are the same. The basic string, the 3 light, and then the 1 heavy attack where he slams down. And again, a lot of your runics got turned into basics, which was cool, but I don't know. I'm really not sure how I feel about a lot of that. The main thing that in combat that really saw a lot of change from one game to the next was the Blades of Chaos. That got greatly improved, and I'm very happy it did, but it's undeniable that this game reuses, I think, a bit too much. But yeah, I think it's a great game. As for your allies, this isn't ugly, but they're okay. There's times where they kind of break your immersion a little. Like, there's nothing like being in a super cool fight, and then suddenly Freya or Atreus just runs up, stands up straight, turns and looks at you, and then just runs away again. It's like, yeah, man, this is a fight. He just runs in front of me, stands up, looks at me, and runs the other way. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was very strange, I thought. Just a slight nitpick, but overall, I'm going to say the game is great. It's really good. I would say it's better than God of War 2018, but I don't know, man. There were parts that I think could have definitely been better in this game. But settling on a score for God of War Ragnarok, I think I'm going to be giving this game an 8.5 out of 10. I would say it's better than God of War 2018, but there's definitely some faults. Like, it falls into a lot of the same pitfalls of the last game. It really does. But yeah, I have to remember my outro now because I don't make videos ever. You know, it's been so long since I've done one that I'm having a hard time making this video. Yeah. Oh, the camera's on. The camera's been on the whole time, huh? I don't even know. Hello. No one's gonna get that reference. Anyways, God appreciate you watching. Let me know what you think. Do you think Ragnarok is a 10 out of 10 like everybody says it is? Do you think I'm being unfair? Do you think that I'm just wrong on a lot of this stuff? Let me know. I wouldn't say that I'm like, I don't think I'm off in any of this, right? Like, I think this is a pretty objective assessment I'm having, and I'm being fair, right? Like, I'm saying its faults, and I'm praising what it does well. But, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'll try and have more videos coming soon, okay? Including the Sekiro how to no-attack Sekiro video. I'll have that going up. But, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. I put the link in the pinned comment to join my Discord, which I now have set up for everybody. We're moderating it a little bit, right? It's not a lawless place over there. So, yeah. I guess check out Worthless Rage's music, because I'll probably be using their music for my outro. And, yeah. Thanks for watching again. Hope you enjoyed. My name is Carmen, but I go by Ellism on YouTube, and that's going to do it. Y'all take it easy.